Hello and good morning. Thank you for joining me at Real Bible Study. Shabbat Shalom to you. It's Saturday morning, the 27th of December. So we want to continue from where we left off as we're discussing the end time Bible prophecy, what you should know. So we took a look last night of some of the nations that were mentioned in Scripture. And I said that you are part of a nation that came out of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And it's important that you know these names and the nations that came out of them. But before we get into that, I saw an interesting article that I wanted to share with you because it's important to know where your beliefs come from. And there's always a system geared towards moving you away from truth, according to scripture, into the ideologies and beliefs of men. So I'm going to read this article real quick for you. So this is from Popular Mechanics. And it says, scientists say aliens may have started life on Earth. Now it's a 4-minute read. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So it starts here. Here's what you will learn when you read this story. The emergence of life from non-living organics is the leading theory regarding how life spawned on Earth, but it is being questioned. Biologist Robert Andrus decided to create mathematical models for the abiotic emergence of life, but the results of these models either appeared highly unlikely or did not align with the fossil record. So you always have men challenging the scripture, the creator. It has always been and it always will be until they actually become believers by force. But at that point, it's going to be too late for the majority of these people. So it goes on to say, Andrus' results brought him to further question how life originated on Earth. And while he remains open to abiogenesis, he also suggests life might have been brought here by aliens. I want to stop right there. So we're going to take a look at another one. And this is from the Christian Post. And it says, humans and dinosaurs coexisted. This is from a televangelist. So I'm going to read this one. So it says, televangelist Brad Shockley told viewers during a televised sermon on Sunday. This article is from, I believe, 2015, December 15th, 2015. So 10 years ago. So he told his sermon televised on Sunday that dinosaurs and humans coexisted 6,000 years ago and claims that God created dinosaurs on the sixth day of creation. Shockley, an evangelist who preaches at two Church of Christ congregations in southwest Missouri and speaks at various gospel revivals across the United States, spoke on an episode to Let the Bible Speak, paid programming that airs to over 30 television stations across the U.S. As a filling for the show's regular host, Brett Hickey, Shockley used the airtime to decry the theory of evolution that is being taught to children in schools, colleges, and on their television sets. He asserts that dinosaurs are being used by evolutionists to indoctrinate children with the evolutionary theory that is dangerous for Christians. Although most scientists accept that dinosaurs lived on the earth hundreds of millions of years ago, Shockley asserted that when you take a closer look at some of the language used to describe certain creatures in the Bible, it suggests that dinosaurs and humans lived together 6,000 years ago. Science generally uses dinosaurs to promote evolution, but in reality, from a Christian perspective, as we understand dinosaurs properly in the role that they play in the Bible, they can be used to champion creationism, Shockley told the Christian Post in the Tuesday interview. Okay, so televangelists speaking about the dinosaurs, and that God created dinosaurs and that they coexisted with man. What's interesting here in this article, he goes on to quote Job chapter 40. A creature called the behemoth is described. Okay. It says here, although the word dinosaur is not used in the Bible, Shockley explained that it is because dinosaur didn't become a word until the 1840s, after many of the English Bible translations, such as Shockley's preferred, the King James Version, was already in existence. Shockley believes there are two specific examples in the Bible where it can be inferred inferred that the language is referring to a dinosaur or a dinosaur-like creature. And he uses Job chapter 40, like I just mentioned. When the translators came to Job chapter 40, we're going to take a look at that scripture in a minute and see if that is correct. And they reach behemoth, and they began to read in the original Hebrew language about this creature. They understood that it was extremely large and that they did not have any understanding for a creature or an animal like this, Shockley said. Now imagine this is going over live on television. Viewers, they're listening and they're watching this presentation here. For example, verse 17 tells us, he lifts his tail like a cedar. Verses 18 tells us his bones are like tubes of bronze and bars of iron. Verse 19, he is a chief in the ways of Elohim. That word chief in the Hebrew means first or foremost. He is really talking about the size and strength of the animal. Shockley added, what we have is a picture of an animal so large that only the Creator can control it. Shockley stated that the description of the behemoth matches the description of the sauropod dinosaur from the original Hebrew language. This is the largest animal that God ever created. Shockley told the viewers that is the largest land animal we know to be in existence for so far today, which seems to fit the description that is found in Job chapter 40. They didn't know what to call it, so they called it behemoth. Okay. Shockley also talked about a creature named Leviathan that was mentioned in Job 41. Although Shockley stressed Leviathan was technically a marine animal and would not fit the description of a dinosaur, Leviathan was also described by the Bible to be a terrifying dinosaur-like creature. Okay, so let's stop right there. So, as you know, if you're reading the scriptures, you have to understand that what the scripture says, how the world was created, this is what we go by. And this gentleman states that, these dinosaurs actually that exist. Now, I'm a fan of science fiction. I saw the Jurassic sequels from the very beginning in '93 up until the last one. So my understanding, I'm watching a science fiction as a believer. But when it comes to the scripture, what does the scripture actually says? Now, I know most of you probably seen these movies, or probably if you live in the United States, went to the Smithsonian and you saw these bones, so-called, of fossils of animals. I saw it myself. And now they are not bones, actually. They are manufactured. Whatever it is something is manufactured. So let's go back to what we're discussing here and look at the reality. What is truth and what is propagated as truth. So right here I have, we're reading from this here. This is from the Bureau of Economic Geology. So first we want to know that the word dinosaur is not found in scripture. So where did it come from? So the first dinosaur fossil documented by a scientist was 350 years ago. in 1677 by Robert Plot. It was part of a femur discovered in a shale mine in England, then sent to a local museum. The curator had never seen anything like it. He thought it might have been the thigh bone from a war elephant or some ancient battle, or the femoral head of a giant human as described in the Bible. So these are the first thoughts, that this looks like the femur, thigh bone of a giant human. So take a look at it right here. So your femur would be that bone from your hip that connects to your knee, giving testimony to that there were giants in the earth called Nephilims that we read in the book of Enoch. So he found a bone, and then later on the narrative changed, because if these people were about the truth and people knew that these books were actually testifying of an ancient time where giants were on the earth, then more people would not question the scriptures as to whether it is accurate or truth, because the scriptures is one of the books that most people, unbelievers, they are up against, trying to fit in science into reality. So this is this gentleman right here. And if you could see him here, so this is Robert Plot. He's was a self-described Freemason. So this is the invention when the idea of making these creatures into what we call modern day dinosaurs. So they are the ones that created the word dinosaur. So let me read the synopsis right here. So in 1676, workers found a huge bone of femur while quarrying shale near Oxford, England, that looked like it was a femur of an elephant or a giant human. In 1824, fossils from quarries in the area enabled William Buckley of the University of Oxford, first geology professor, to propose the existence of an ancient lizard-like creature. He called it Megalosaurus. 17 years later, another scientist proposed the name Dinosauria for the creation of Megalosaurus. Let me continue reading. "150 years later, again in 1824, Oxford University first geologists studied more fossils that had been found in English canals and quarries and concluded that they came from an extinct reptile-type lizard." So they make an assumption here. He named it Megalosaurus, great lizard. So it goes on to say here, then in 1841, another scientist realized that there were a host of these ancient creatures, which he dubbed dinosaurs, after the Greek Dionos for terrible and Sauros for lizard. So these were the merging of two Greek words by self-described Freemasons. So let's take a look at this behemoth that is in scripture. Let's go to the Strong's Concordance and look up that word behemoth. We're going to do it in real time, because according to Mr. Shockley, this is what they translated to mean. So if we go to Strong's, first let's go to that chapter real quick. So that's Job, looks like chapter 40. Job chapter 40. And we're going to take it from, I believe that's 15. So it says, "Behold now, Behemoth, which I made with thee, he eats grass as an ox. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in his navel of his belly. He moveth his tail like a cedar. His sinews of his stones are wrapped together. His bones are as strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of the ways of Elohim. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him." So this we find this word behemoth. So what is a behemoth? Well, it's not in our language, so we go quick to our Strong's concordance. So we're going to see what behemoth is. Okay, so we looked at the Strong's concordance. We see here behemoth, Strong's H930, in the form of a plural of H929, but really is singular, of Egyptian derivation. It says a water ox, that is a hippopotamus or Nile horse, behemoth. Let me show it to you right here. If you could see. Can you see that right there? Highlighted. It says a hippopotamus. Where hippopotamus geographically live? I'm going back to Mr. Sharkey's claim here that this is a land creature. It's important to know that you live in the truth, because there's many people out there that proclaim to be speaking the truth when it's actually not the truth. So he's quoting from, he says Job chapter 40. Now he says here, when the translators came to Job chapter 40, his words, and they reached Behemoth, and they began to read in the original Hebrew language about this creature, they understood that it was extremely large. Yes, it is large. And that they did not have an understanding for a creature, for an animal like this, Shockley said. So here it is in Strong's Concordance. It tells us that the behemoth is a water ox or Nile horse, i.e. the hippopotamus. So that's the behemoth. Okay, so let's look at another creature that he mentions in Job chapter 41, the Leviathan. Chapter 41, canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put a hook into his nose, or bore high his jaw through a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou make him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird? And wilt thou bind him with thy maidens? Shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Lay thy hand upon him, remember the battle, do no more. Behold, hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? So who is the Leviathan? What is he speaking about here? So let's take a look. So let's take a look at what Mr. Shockley said here. So Shockley also talked about a creature named Leviathan, mentioned in Job chapter 41, we just read, although Shockley stressed the Leviathan was technically a marine animal that would not fit the description of a dinosaur. Leviathan was also described by the Bible as a terrifying dinosaur-like creature. So let's take a look at the scripture, what that says about Leviathan. So for that, we go to Strong's again. We're going to take a look. Okay, so we have H3882, Leviathan, a wreathed animal, i.e. a serpent, especially the crocodile or some other large sea monster. Figuratively, the constellations of the dragon are also as a symbol of Babylon, Leviathan, morning. So it's telling us here, especially the crocodile or some other large sea creatures. So I did a search here. So the largest known crocodile ever caught on record was a saltwater crocodile that measured 6.17 meters or 20 feet 3 inches and weighed approximately 2,300 pounds. He was captured in the Philippines in 2011 and held in captivity until his death in 2013. So when the scriptures talks about a Leviathan, it's actually speaking about a marine animal like the crocodile. So going back to the invention of the idea of dinosaurs, because when the scripture tells us the Most High sent all the animals towards Adam to see what he would name them, and whatever Adam named these creatures, that they were called. So all the Tyrannosaurus Rex and Blachysaurus and all the other saurus were ideas made by Freemasons after finding the bone that they first claimed to be a giant femur. And this is where the deception actually started. So most of the world's population believes in the belief that there was a creation before man. And this pastor here, this gentleman, actually saying that man and dinosaurs coexisted. And that is being sent out to the masses, which is unfortunate. Let me show you another one as well while we're on that topic. If you ever read the scriptures from the beginning, Bereshit or Genesis, you read the beginning of creation. And it says here, I'm reading from verse 6, and Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which are under the firmament from the waters which are above the firmaments, and it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Now if you jump on to 14, we see that continues again. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let there be signs, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. We call that the sun and the moon. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, to rule the day and over the night, and divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. Now if you go to the verses 20, it says, and Elohim said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that has life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times this word firmament appears in the scripture. Now, in my earlier days when I read that, I would just bypass that because what is a firmament? I mean, we'd just skip it. So it is actually telling us what the earth looks like. So most of us, this is what the earth looks like. So the scripture does not describe a ball or a globe. This is taken from this website right here. So inside here looks like chocolate. They call that the, what is that? The foundation. So this is what you typically would see in your classrooms, on your television and your movies. This is earth. But the scripture describes the earth differently. As a matter of fact, when you read the book of Malachi chapter 3:10, it gives us something, a bit of a clue, and it's a bit puzzling if you're reading from a scientific view or a westernized ideology. So when you read the book of Malachi, it mentions the word, the windows of heaven. So this is one of the favorite books to read in modern day churches to collect the offering, or the tithes. It's very popular. So let's read this, chapter 3, verse 10. It says, "Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, says Yahuwah Elohim of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall be no room enough to receive it." So what is this blessing that he's pouring out? He says he will open the windows of heaven. Well, many pastors will say and tell you, I heard it myself, we know heaven has no windows. That's the saying. It all depends on whose view of the earth you believe. If you believe Nicholas Copernicus' view, that it's spinning 65,000 miles in space, or you believe what your eyes are seeing, or the experience that you have had all your life. Whether you fly in an aircraft, you drive a car, you travel on a train, you're always on a flat surface. If you've been on a ship, on a cruise ship, and you look out into the horizon, you see a straight line. And when you look up, you see in a blue sky. That's the firmament. So let's see what the scripture says about this windows of heaven. So let's go to Jasher. We go to Jasher chapter 6. And it says here from verse 14, "And all the fountains of the deep were broken up." This is before the flood. Let me take it from 12. "And still the sons of men would not turn from their evil ways, and this increased the anger of Elohim at that time, and did not even direct their hearts to all this. And at the end of the 7 days, in the 600th year of the life of Noah, the waters of the floods were on the earth, and all the fountains of the deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights." So we see the window of heaven is mentioned there. If we go to Jasher chapter 6, from verses 33, and it says, "And a wind passed over the earth, and the waters were still, and the ark rested, and the fountains of the deep and the windows of heavens were stopped, and the rain from the heavens was restrained. And the waters decreased in those days, and the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat." So we see here the windows of heaven opened and the windows of heaven closed. So let's go to Strong's. You go to the Strong's. Take a look at H699. So what do we have here? Okay. So we have here Strong's Druba, particular passive of 693. A lattice, by implication, a window, dove cut, because of the pigeonholes, chimney, or solace, with openings for water. So it's a solace, opening of water. What is a solace? Let's see what a solace looks like. This right here is a dam, and this is the solace right here. It opens and it's closed. So the firmament is like this. Has windows or solace. This is the foundation of the earth. It has a foundation. Psalms 104 verse 5 and Job 38:04 speaks that the earth has a foundation. It also has solace or openings in the firmament. So this version here does not match what is described in scripture, but this is the one that is believed. Why do I say that? It's important to understand, according to Revelation chapter 12 verses 9, that the devil who was cast down, who leads the world astray, the old dragon, that serpent of old, he leads the world astray by deceiving, using men to deceive the nations through different science and philosophical beliefs. So I want you to understand that when you're reading the scripture, believe what the scripture is actually saying, because you're going to be led to a place where you have conflict with your creator and begin doubt. This is all the enemy needs. He needs you to doubt, like many people. They doubt because they were never initially believers in the first place. And pretty much a lot of the books that gives you the understanding of the world was removed about 2 centuries ago. So let's start with what we were looking at last night. We looked at a brother by the name of Nimrod, and he ruled. All the nations were under him at one point. We read that in Joshua chapter 9 verse 28. So we're going to take a look at Joshua this morning, chapter 10. And then we're going to take a look at the nations that are mentioned in scripture that would be in the last day. So let's go to Joshua. Okay. So we're going to read from verses, let's start from verses 1. And Peleg, the son of Eber, died in those days, in the 48th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah. And all the days of Peleg were 239 years. And when Elohim had scattered the sons of men on account of their sin at the tower, behold, they spread out into many divisions. And all the sons of men were dispersed into the 4 corners of the earth. See again, the 4 corners of the earth. And all the families, each became according to its language, its land, or its city. And the sons of men built many cities according to their families in all the places where they went and throughout the earth, where Elohim had scattered them. And some of them built cities in places from which they were afterward rooted out. And they called these cities after their own names, or the names of their children, or after their particular occurrences. And the sons of Japheth, the son of Noah, went and built themselves cities in places where they were scattered. And they called all their cities after their names. And the sons of Japheth were divided on the face of the earth into divisions of languages. And the sons of Japheth, according to their families: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. These are the sons of Japheth according to their generations. And the children of Gomer according to their cities were the Francums, who dwell in the land of France by the river France and the river Shina. And the children of Rapha are the Batonim, who dwell in the land of Batonia by the river of Leda, and the which empties the waters in the great sea of Gihon, that is Oceania. So right here we're taking a look at some of the descendants of Japheth. Very important to understand who Japheth is according to the scripture. So let me look at some of Japheth's descendants and where they went. So right here we've been looking at a dispersion map after the fall of the Tower of Babel. So we're going to go for this first one here, Japheth, Tubal, one of Japheth's sons. Italics, Iberians like Spanish and Portuguese, Caucasians, Iberia, modern day Georgia, Herbina, Ireland, Tubal, Bali, mixed with some Slavic people, Meshech. So this is where, if you could see, this is the Tower of Babel right here. And this is Japheth's descendants, where they're scattering to. This would be European nations right here. If you could see, this looks like what we call Britain. These are the nations that they fled to, were scattered into it. They dispersed, the dispersion. So you have Siberia, Georgia, Italics, or Italy. I guess that's the old way for Italy. So that's Tubal. Next we have Gomer and his son Ripha. So we have the Gaul nations, France, Galatia, the Welsh. Group is what is mixed with Chinese in the east. The word Celt comes from Celtica, a variant of Galatia, Celtic. We get the Boston Celtics. See where that name comes from? And Rivka. So they're in these nations right here. Take a look again. Some of these nations went east. It's going towards China here. This is the Tower of Babel. If you look up here, you see Welsh. This is we call Great Britain today. So Gomer scattered. It's the scattering of the nations that will make up most of the Gentile population. Let's take a look at another one. Javan. So Javan gave us the Greeks, Ionian, Tarshish, Sicilia, Kittim, Cyprus, much of the sea of the coast of Kittim in Hebrew, Macedonia, later called Bavaria, Saxony, southern part of Germany, and even mixed with the Vandals, the Goths, the Romans, and the Gaul, the Britons, as well as many coasts in the Mediterranean. Here we go again. See right here. All these nations, this is Britain, or modern day Britain. All these nations here scattered into what is called Europe today. Okay, let's look at another descendant of Japheth, Madai. So Madai joined with the Persians. The Elamites became the Persians when Cyrus ruled, King Cyrus, now modern day Iran. Mitanni, Tira, and Pathia. This is it right here. You see some right here. Madai went to what is called India right here in this peninsula, if you can see it right there. So these are sons of Japhet. Okay, here's another one, Magog. The Slavs, west, east, and south, some parts of modern-day Russia, who mixed their language and their cultures with Togama and potentially Eskimos and Olets in North America. Magonites, Phoenicians, Slavs. See right here, you have South Slavic, West Slavic. You have Irish, Scot. So this is Magog. See the tower right here, Babel, and where these languages, where they're scattered to over time. Second to last one we have here, Gomor and Togarmah. So we have here Kosovo, Albania, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Armenia, Gok Turks, some isolation in Siberia and parts in China and Mongolia. Turkey and associate Turkish language families due to the Ottoman Empire of the Turks. Many Turks moved to various places in the empire around the Mediterranean, Europe, and Middle East. So this is Gomor's descendants, where they scattered to. Okay, and last but not least, Gomer's son Ashkenaz, Japhet grandson. So we have Ashkenaz, Germanic people, northwestern Turkey, southwestern regions of the Caspian Sea. Second. The Caspian Sea, northeastern region of the Black Sea, the Goths, the Visigoth, the Ostrogoth, Anglo-Saxon, the Norse, Iceland, mixing with many Teutons from Tyrus. So if you take a look right here, you're going to see Ashkenaz right there. So important to know the nations and what role they play in end time prophecy. So let's take a look at Tubal, one of Japhet's sons. So Tubal, Hebrew, this is from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, was the name of the son of Japhet, son of Noah. Modern scholarship has identified him as Tubal. Traditionally, he is considered to be the father of the Caucasian Iberians, ancestors of the Georgians, according to primary sources. Later, St. Jerome refashioned the Caucasian Iberian Georgia into the Iberian Peninsula, Western Europe, and consolidated this idea. So this is where we get the word Caucasian or Caucasus Mountains from Tubal. So we know what Tubal looks like today. And the reason when you hear the term white people, understand that this is not language of scripture, but this is secular language created by white supremacists to bring division among mankind. So people were never called by the skin color, and they are not white people. You know, this is a white sheet of paper, so people don't look like that. They're always called by their tongue, their nation, and their tribe. So let's take a look at Ashkenaz. Okay, this is Britannica.com. Ashkenaz, member of the Jews who lived in the Rhineland Valley and the neighboring France before the migration eastward to Slavic lands, Poland, Lithuania, Russia, example. After the Crusades in 11th and 13th century, and their descendants after the 17th century, persecutions in Eastern Europe, large numbers of these Jews resettled in Western Europe, where they assimilated as they had done in Eastern Europe with other Jewish communities. In time, all Jews who had adopted the German Rite synagogue ritual were referred to as Ashkenazism to distinguish from the Sephardic Spanish Rite Jews. Ashkenazism differ from Sephardism in their pronunciation of Hebrew, in cultural traditions, in synagogue cantillation or chanting, in their widespread use of Yiddish until the 20th century, and specifically in synagogue liturgy. Today, Ashkenazism constitutes more than 80% of all Jews in the world, vastly outnumbering the Sephardic Jews. In the 21st century, Ashkenazic Jews number about 11 million. In Israel, the number of Ashkenaz or Sephardic are roughly equal. And the chief rabbinic has both the Ashkenaz and the Sephardic chief rabbi on equal footing. So right here we see Japheth's son, Gomer's son, Ashkenaz, is in with the Angles or the Anglo-Saxons, the Germans, the Goth, Irish, Ireland, over to the Black Sea. So these are Europeans, according to what Scripture tells us. So how does this fit in with Scripture? Well, when we go to the book of Genesis chapter 10, it tells us something very specific. And this is, if you're reading the King James Version, all these nations here, they are under what is called a division or isles. So here's how it reads. Chapter 10 of Genesis reads like this. Now, these are the generation of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth. So we just read Japheth's lineage or generation, genealogy. And unto them were born sons after the flood, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Wiphrah, and Togarmah, the sons of Javan, Elishna, Tarshish, Kittim, Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles. So this is the first time you're going to see the word Gentiles. Now here's the problem in modern day Christianity. Gentiles are typically called non-Jewish people for some reason. But the Scripture gives more detail than what is being led to believe. So if you look like this, and you go to a Christian church, anyone, they refer to people that look like this as Gentiles. But this is not a Gentile. This right here is an exhibit. It's called an Egyptian Semitic slave exhibit. This exhibit is in the Hetch Museum at the University of Haifa in Israel. It's called a Egyptian Semitic slave. Semitic. So you see what this refers to. So when you hear Semitic, it comes from Shem, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Jacob. They were Shemites. See what Shemites look like. So how is it that you have people acting in Hollywood, acting as Caucasian people, Gentiles acting as Semitic people? Well, it's not for them to tell you the truth. It's for you to read the scriptures and understand that this world was built on lies, man. It's been propagated for centuries as to deceive the world. And this is how the enemy has deceived the world. So here you see a person like this. What do they call them? Black people. That's what they call. He would be considered, this actor here, in America or European countries, as black. This is black. But no matter what shade of brown you come in, they categorize you as black. So understand that you won't be getting the truth from the media or in mainstream. The truth is only found in the scripture. So I wanted to take you there first before we move on into this particular study, understanding that you are part of a nation, not a part of a race. Race was never something that Elohim created. That was created by men to create division and artificial hierarchy here among the multitude. So with that, I want to pause right there. Again, we are streaming here on YouTube. So if you would like what you're hearing here, please like it, share it, and also your comments are also welcome. If you have any questions based on what you heard here, and maybe you probably disagree as well. When you disagree, you're always welcome to disagree, but disagree based on what the scripture says. And we're going to look at it together to see if I was wrong, because I don't know everything, but I do know that in order to find the truth, we must have an understanding of the scripture, who is the writer writing to, and also why is the writer writing. All these scriptures here that we'll be reading, we'll be going through, is not geared towards everyone, and there's a small percentage of people that the Most High would secure as his remnant here on the earth. So I want to thank you for your time, this Real Bible Studies session this morning. Again, I want to leave you with the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 24 to 26. May Yahuwah bless you. Yahuwah keep you, make his face shine upon you, and be gracious upon you. And may Yahuwah give you his shalom. So until next time, Shabbat shalom to you, and we'll see soon.